dogs are barking. There's a Victorian cemetery behind me, behind my flat, and so we always get dog walkers going past, and the dogs are always going absolutely nuts, chasing the squirrels, all of that.
Amazing. That wasn't the sentence I was expecting. There's a Victorian cemetery full of dogs.
They might be ghosts, I'm not sure. I think they are real. Maybe they're in my head. I don't know.
I can hear them too, so they're in my head as well.
Well, I'll do a proper introduction. Welcome back to Notes from School, the podcast. Thank you for joining me today. For today's assembly, every week is a different kind of digital assembly, podcast assembly, and we have a very exciting guest speaker in today's assembly hall. It is Sarah Jeffery. Welcome in.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sarah, you may know from the extremely popular and successful YouTube channel Team Recorder, and Sarah's one of the world's leading advocates on recorder music and recorder playing, and Sarah's also a correct me if I'm wrong, professor of recorder. Is it contemporary recorder at RCM, Royal College of Music? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
amazing. And I've been watching Sarah's videos for a long time. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you may have come across them online. And I just really wanted to chat to you because as someone who is very passionate about primary school music and also just music education in general, I thought it'd be great to chat and to hear all about your story, also as a recorder player and a creator as well online.
Yeah.
And everything you've been doing for music education. I messaged you a little while ago, and then this story kind of blew up in the media, which was taken from a survey or a study, I think, saying that recorder playing is going out of fashion or going out of style in primary schools, and it's being taken over by the ukulele. Can you tell me a little about your experience with that whole story and how you got kind of asked questions about that?
I can. Well, it's interesting because this story seems to reappear every couple of years. We had the same thing a couple of years ago. There was an article in The Guardian. Basically, there was a study that showed that nowadays ukuleles are being used as a tool in primary school music, whereas for my generation, and I'm sure earlier generations, we would have whole class recorders. The way it's often spun in the media is the recorder's out of fashion, children aren't choosing it, but that's as if these 6 and 7 year olds are completely choosing their own curriculum. Of course, what it really is coming down to is we're seeing many symptoms of the government cutting music education, arts education, taking it out of the curriculum. That's one side of it. So I would say the real reason we're not seeing as much music education in primary schools is definitely due to systemic choices rather than what the children are preferring to do. And for me personally, I think as long as there is music in schools, as long as you have a teacher who is passionate and well trained in what they're doing and bringing that enthusiasm over to the children, that's great. For me, I don't care if it's a ukulele or a recorder, singing, tubular bells. It can be absolutely everything.
Amazing. And I get very frustrated, as I'm sure you do, much more than I do. But when you see these headlines which say things like from like a torture method to the school hall or something like that, or the humble recorder is going out of fashion, and this child instrument is no longer being played anymore. And I'm sure you see these headlines whenever this kind of news article pops up and think, not again, can we just reframe this narrative?
Exactly. I mean, it's just a little bit lazy. And to be honest, on one hand, I don't blame journalists because there's a lot of important stuff to report on going in the world right now. And I understand that sometimes you've got to have a bit of a fluff piece. Oh, the recorder, the Marmite of the music world, let's shove that in there. There's not much time for thought. But I think if we just reframe it, it's not a humble instrument. It's a majestic instrument. It's versatile. It's professional. These small reframes can go a long way for the public perception. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do from my end, just advocate for the recorder, show good examples of what it can do.
It seems like once people actually get into the story, they realize what a great instrument it is. And I feel like it's just, I think it might just be the case of you get these sub-editors at newspapers that say, right, we just need some kind of catchy headline to either get people annoyed or for people to click on a link, which is, I guess that's just the case for most news articles. So let's just say something potentially slightly divisive, like the recorder isn't a real instrument or something like that. But how do you feel about it being described as like a gateway instrument? Do you feel like that kind of, I don't know, minimizes or diminishes the status of the instrument itself?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let's think. My end goal is that every person making music finds what they're passionate about, right? So if they start with a recorder because they can buy a Yamaha plastic one for 20 quid and then they move on to something else, great. But I think it does the recorder a disservice if we only see it as a gateway instrument. Also because it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to play.
Yeah.
So it's, I think we have to have the full picture. If the full picture is there, I mean, you can compare it to the piano. You can say, you press one key, easy. You press 3 keys, you've got a chord. What could be easier than that? But of course, because we have the proper representation, we know what it can become. So we need that representation for the recorder.
It's funny. So one of the singing books that I used at school and used as part of my show called Come and Praise. Did you sing from that one?
Yeah.
Did you ever sing Come and Praise? Yeah. So did you ever play the recorder descants to those tunes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. They're quite hard.
Yeah.
Like some of those recorded, I've got the kind of the anthology version, which has got the full piano, because most people would recognize the small blue books, or green books, whichever or red, whichever edition you had. But it just had the words in it for singing. But the version of the book that the teacher would have with all the piano parts also had the recorder descant lines for pretty much every song.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much
some of those
music
lines are really difficult. So I think it's no wonder that you might get children who have just had a few recorder lessons that are making some squeaks to some of these recorder descant lines, which are quite difficult. I think you've said it before, which is it just so happens that the recorder is the instrument that a lot of children play, but it could be, if they were given any other instrument, it would also sound squeaky.
Yeah. A class of violins or a class of trumpets or trombones. And I also think if we think about what you learn at primary school, you learn numbers. But we don't say, oh, that's sweet, I learned to count. Oh, but I was terrible at it, though. We say, oh, wow, you're a mathematician. Or, we have to... I think it's important to give children and adult learners the grace to be beginners. You don't immediately have to be a genius or a child prodigy or have this amazing monetizable skill. We can be beginners, and that's wonderful, even if it goes far, or if it doesn't, that's fine too.
Why do you think it is that a lot of people, so many people started off playing the recorder, but then so many people just drop off from playing the recorder after those early days? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's a lack of teachers or
yeah. So, the history of why recorders in schools, that was a conscious decision that goes back to the early 20th century. There was a guy called Edgar Hunt who was instrumental for music education, and it just so happened you could mass produce recorders out of Bakelite, so that's why they were shipped into the schools. But quite simply, I think you have to learn how to play it properly, and you do have wonderful teachers who are passionate, who really stimulate music in their schools, and they have great results. But I also get it if you've never played one before and it's shoved into your hands and you think, what am I doing here? It's not going to be as much of a success. So I think proper music training for teachers who are teaching music is important.
Do you think also? I mean, I don't know, but I wonder. I wonder also whether there's a slight lack of representation of instrumental recorder ensembles or soloists when you're at that school level, because when you're in a classroom, you will be taught about violin concertos, piano concertos, and maybe oboe or clarinet concertos, maybe, but you're not really shown professional recorder ensembles or professional recorder performers.
Yeah, it's about finding the information, isn't it? Because now things are changing. We've had some recorder players in the finalists of BBC Young Musician, for example, coming through. And recorders are getting much more popular in the public eye. But like when I was a kid at school in the 90s, there wasn't as much representation because the recorder went through this revival around the first half of the 20th century. So a lot of the people playing the recorder were the real either early music nerds, finding the manuscripts and reconstructing them, or working with composers to create like really wild contemporary music. So actually in the professional sense, the recorder was doing all this really quite complex intellectual stuff. And at the same time, we're like, use it as a beginner instrument. So it's really different worlds coming together. But we have a lot more kind of widespread information and representation now than we did 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So you teach at the Royal College of Music now. Do you do any primary school level teaching?
I've done a lot of primary school level teaching, yes. At the moment, I don't. I can only do so many things. So, but yeah, for the past 20 years, I would say I've taught at every level, every age group. And I love teaching beginners. It's so wonderful. When I'm teaching, you can't think of anything else. You just have the pupils in front of you, and there's just so much joy in music teaching. And I think especially one-on-one teaching, if you have kids coming for individual lessons, it's so special because when do you get that one-on-one attention in the education system? You really kind of build up a rapport, you kind of build up a relationship with your pupils. And I think it's a really special thing.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I have a weird kind of positive kind of relationship with teaching, in that I've taught for about 11 years now. And I always think that it's a bit of a shame when you finish teaching with the pupil, especially when you've been teaching with them for a long time. But from the pupil's perspective, they would have probably had the most almost, I don't know, specialized education experience with their instrumental teacher. Because through the classroom, you're in a group setting. If you're in a choir, you're in a group setting. If you're in an ensemble, there's lots of other people there. And unless you have kind of a specialist teacher assigned to you, you don't really have one-on-one education with anyone. And actually, if you start your music lessons at a young age and you go all the way through to the end of primary school, or even to the end of, I've been teaching some pupils privately for nearly 12 years, and I've seen them go from kind of little children to adults, and to shape the musical kind of experience is quite a privilege, really. And so I'm sure you would have seen the same thing, of you working with pupils and seeing them grow as musicians and as people, and hopefully taking that music, the love of music, through with them as well. Have many of your younger pupils gone on to study at higher level?
Oh, let me think about that. Let me think. I've definitely had, well, there's a much higher percentage if I meet pupils, say, around the teenage level, because I've also, I've taught on summer schools, folk music courses, kind of everything really. And there I've seen these shy teens and now blossom, and now they are professional musicians, which is incredible. I'll be honest, not all of my 6-year-old beginners go on to be professional recorder players, but I have, for example, I had a pupil, a little boy, he came when he was 5, and I think the skills we worked on together were so valuable outside of music. In the beginning, he was really shy, and he was so shy he would hide behind the door. And sometimes he had, he was so little. Concentration was a completely new thing. And reading was also difficult. I mean, in the Dutch school system, kids only start to learn to read in year 2. So often the kids I get, they can't read or write. So we worked on that together, and we worked on a lot of playing by ear because he loved the music to Cars, the movie. So we played that by ear from the CD. Cool. And now, I mean, I'm still friends with his mum, and he's doing his GCSEs. He plays bass guitar in a band. But those skills we worked on, that confidence, concentration, how to learn, problem solving, I can still see in him now. And that's really special. So I don't mind that he doesn't play the recorder anymore, because I've seen what he was working on, and I've seen him blossom in real life.
That's so good. That's really nice. I feel like it's those kind of transferable skills in a weird. If you have to try and kind of make it like a tangible asset, I guess, from music lessons, it's those transferable skills of being sympathetic to what you're reading, what you're performing, how you're interacting with other people. I think all of that you can get from those music lessons. I was going to ask you, where did your love of the recorder come from? Was it from recorder lessons as a child, or did you just play with everybody else and thought, I love this, I want to carry on?
Yeah, actually, it was from primary school. Yeah. So I went to a very normal state primary school in a tiny village, about 80 kids in the school. And in fact, my mum started a recorder club at lunchtime for the year 2s. So I was about 6. And I immediately loved playing the recorder, but I did not love having my mum teach me.
Was she a teacher at your school?
No, I think she's not a professional musician, but she plays quite a lot of instruments as a hobby. I think she had about grade 3 recorder, and she just volunteered. Cool. And I don't remember the recorder club lasting very long, to be honest, but I did. I got the book and started learning it at home. It's called Sing, Clap and Play. And from there, I started playing the recorder at our local music centre, Derby Music Centre.
Shout out
to Derby Music Centre. Yeah. And I went there every Saturday until I was 15. And that was my recorder lesson, just playing in a group. And actually, recently I asked my mum about it. I was like, what did that cost? And she was like, I think it was free. So I could just go and play the recorder, this wonderful subsidised music centre. So that was how it started. But I have to say, my primary school, I remember it being full of music. We'd have a whole school assembly every day, which wasn't hard because there were only 3 classes. And we'd just sing. We sang every single day. There was always some kid rocking up with a recorder, play something. We had peripatetic teachers coming into the school if you wanted to learn flute or something like that. So music was kind of very naturally baked into the curriculum.
Yeah, that's great. And a lot of people that actually come to the shows that I've been doing, actually, as well as their memories of singing at school, they also have amazing memories of playing instruments, and quite often the recorder. So sometimes I do actually have groups of people all bringing their recorders, and I've had a few shows where I have seen people bring out the recorders and played along to themselves. And I said, okay, we do have a record ensemble in the audience today. Would you be willing to play in front of other people? And so I have sometimes organised it in advance. Some people have said, oh, we bring our recorders. And so I would say, okay, we're going to play in C major. We're going to do whatever it is. And even if they just play, I don't know, they could even just play Forever Jacques or Three Blind Mice or something like that. It's everyone just cheers and thinks it's brilliant. And sometimes they're pretty good, and they can play Kumbaya, or they could play Lord of the Dance, or they can play some of these tunes. And I'm always impressed when they do. But I would say that actually, as an average, I'd say maybe once every 3 or 4 shows that I do, there will be people bringing their recorders along. And even at the time of recording, I'm going to be at Glastonbury this week. doing my show there, and people have messaged me to say that they're going to try and bring their recorders. And that is the ultimate dedication, I would say, because you've got to choose very carefully about what you bring to a festival. So you've got to carry it all through a field. So if you're bringing a very heavy tent, I mean, generally plastic recorders are not particularly heavy, but it's an extra bit of burden for you to carry for an hour through a field. And quite excitingly, the set is going to be filmed. So what I'm hoping, my dream, is to have a panning shot from the stage to the audience with people playing recorders. That would be the ultimate representation of recorder playing at Glastonbury Festival. And then we'll get you on the pyramid stage next time. Yeah, exactly. You never know. But I loved what you said about the local music hub as well, because so many of these kind of local music collectives or hubs or incentives, they are funded by either the council or local government or something. So when those get deprioritized or budgets get cut, you're not just cutting people having fun and messing about on instruments, every Saturday morning. You're actually cutting a lifeline for a lot of children, and potentially not just a lifeline, but a future career. Because if you hadn't had that experience, it may be that you may have chosen a different instrument, or it may be that you would have done something different.
100%. So what you were asking earlier about why are kids dropping off music, it's because we need those pathways. So we can have a scheme to put beginner instruments in schools or kind of music basics, and that's great. And then there is still kind of specialist teaching, these high-level courses, often privately funded, which again is inaccessible for the very talented students, but you need the path in between. So there was me playing as a 6-year-old in my school thinking, oh, I like it. And because I could stream into that pathway, my local music centre, that gave a way for it to develop to a higher level. So if we're cutting those pathways out in the middle, it's almost impossible, really, which is very disheartening.
Really disheartening. And it might be that you have let's say you had 100 people going to this on a Saturday morning. It might be that 95 of them just do it for fun. And there's also nothing wrong with that, because another thing that does slightly this shouldn't be a whole podcast of what annoys us as musicians, but I guess that's kind of what we get to. But I feel like a lot of kind of reporting around music education is saying, well, actually, if you do music at a young age, it could be that you can make money from it and all of that kind of thing. But it also could be that you just do it for the love of it and do it for fun. And that shouldn't really be taken out the equation, just to do it for the love of Saturday morning music making.
100%. And I think a lot of the concerns we have, especially for teenagers and young people today, the things that I'm worried about, for example, for my own daughter, like how are we going to navigate smartphones, social media, social life, all of these things. Music is so incredible. Like playing in a group, that is a lifeline. It's a whole social network, a community. Like I honestly think if every kid was kind of streamed into group music making, a lot of these problems, how to phrase that correctly, it goes a long way to addressing some of these issues. That you have a community and you're not isolated, and you learn these critical thinking, listening, empathy, problem solving. It all comes from music.
Exactly. And it's the same for any age, really, but specifically for young people. Right now, it's very difficult to be able to connect with people outside of your immediate either friendship or family group without being on social media. And so I didn't really do that many kind of ensemble music making opportunities until I was around 16, 17, 18. And at that point, it completely expanded my worldview. I was meeting people from all around the country, people from other countries, and working with people from different backgrounds. I mean, I had a very similar upbringing to you and just went to a very just local state primary school. But then I was meeting people that had all these other experiences, and I found that inspiring, sometimes slightly scary. But it kind of, it pushed me and it opened up my kind of boundaries. But I was wondering how you went, at what point you decided or managed to make work life as a professional recorder player.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a very, it felt like a late decision. So I was always planning to study medicine, and I was doing my A-levels, and I took music as an extra subject because I just love music. I also went to a very normal state sixth form, and I had the luck of having two amazing A-level music teachers who were so supportive. And one of them was a recorder player, so she'd keep bringing me music. And the other took us all on a school trip to the open day at Birmingham Conservatoire. Now, I was like, I didn't know you could study music. Like, it had never crossed my mind. But that planted a seed, and kind of in record time, I flipped everything and I said to my mum, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I want to be a recorder player. She's like, oh my God. So I made the decision to apply for music college, and somehow I got in, and I went and studied the recorder. So I also want to mention this was the year 2003, where I almost didn't have to pay study fees. The world was quite different then, so financially it was much more accessible, especially I came from a low-income single-parent family. So at that point, it was quite an easy decision to make. It might be different today. But yeah, that was the kind of catalyst was my A-level music teacher.
It's great that you had so many supportive people with you, because I'm sure in a lot of families, if you said, actually, I don't want to be studying medicine, I don't want to study medicine, I want to be a professional musician or professional recorder player, they might think, they might either think to themselves, I'm not sure that's the right path, or just say, that's not happening, you're going to study medicine. And then you'll study medicine for 4 years and then become a recorder player anyway, because that's what you love. And then, so you were a professional recorder player for a few years, and then you started a YouTube channel, or was that kind of slightly simultaneous?
No, so I studied for 9 years.
Right. Wow. Amazing.
Because I couldn't get enough of it. And so I did a bachelor's in England, then another bachelor's in the Netherlands, and then a master in the Netherlands. And
Which
after
is where
I graduated,
you're based now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And after I graduated, I'd been studying for a decade basically, and I felt quite lost. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I felt very much like, of course, the recorder has a bad reputation because no one knows anything about it. So why don't I get on the internet and start telling people about it? And it really took off. That people, I think recorder players saw it as a bit of a lifeline. And yeah, it's been super nice. Team Recorder has become a real staple of the recorder world. So that's been wonderful.
Was there a particular channel or YouTuber or anyone, like a content creator, that kind of inspired you to move that in that direction to become a YouTuber?
Actually, do you know what's really funny? My student job, I've always been babysitting, and I babysat an 11-year-old girl who started her own YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah.
And that took off. She became like TV famous here in the Netherlands. And I was so proud of her because she really did everything herself. So I was like, oh, if she could do it. I was like, and I was quite shy about telling her at first, like, I've also started my YouTube channel because, she's really professional.
Yeah. That's really funny. I love that. Yeah. The funny thing is, when I started doing TikTok, it was very much, I was asking my pupils for tips. Because I said, I'm too old for this, but you need to tell me what works on TikTok. And they would say, oh, you're doing a very good job, Mr. Partridge. And if I'd got over 100 views or something. But it's funny the way into going into it. And do you ever get referred to as a YouTuber? Do people call you a YouTuber?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's a bit more complimentary than other times. I mean, I don't mind it. It's definitely, it's an important part of what I do.
Yeah.
I did once do an interview with a German classical music magazine, and the person interviewing me was lovely, but she said, oh, I really had to twist my editor's arm. They were very worried about having a YouTuber on these pages. I was like, well, I am also a professional. I have a master's in my subject.
Yeah.
But it's part of the musical ecosystem these days. So
I think there's. Do you remember when that was? Was it a while ago?
That would have been a good 5 years ago, I think.
I feel like there's probably been a shift in terms of the amount of content that it is online, because I think it's probably the same with TikTok, because if you said, oh, I'm a TikToker 5 years ago, then people would assume that you're just doing dance moves. But if you say you're a TikToker now, it could be anything.
It can be anything.
You can be you could be a master in your field, or you could be a conspiracy theorist. So it could go either way, I suppose. So, I mean, it's funny because I suppose you could be described in many ways. You can, a content creator, a YouTuber, a professor, a professional musician. So, but I feel like as a freelancer that you do tend to just get lots of different labels, and that's, I guess, the way that has to be done, in this day and age.
Absolutely. And it's so important, if you want to make music a career, you have to be prepared to do different things. I don't know any musician who only does one thing. So it's also, you're performing, you're teaching, you're composing, you're arranging, you're transcribing, translating. It's super important to be flexible.
It is, although I have found that a lot of classical musicians I know are very hesitant to do anything on social media, whether it's out of their own, they just want to focus on their own studies, or they want to focus on their own in-person performances, or kind of an overwhelm of information of how to become a good TikToker or YouTuber or whatever. So it is hard, and I think it's probably, I think in classical music especially, I've found that there is more of a hesitance to getting on social media and posting performance clips, or posting clips of you even just rehearsing. There is a lot more hesitance to that, because I feel like with other forms of music, there's maybe less stigma to it, and maybe the rehearsal room's less of a sacred space. I don't know. Have you found that at all?
I think a lot of classical musicians have a perfectionist streak. So we feel like, I only want to show my work when it's CD worthy, when it's the finale of the competition, and we can be scared to show that vulnerable side of showing mistakes or showing a work in progress, whereas that part of the process is really valuable, also for people learning from us as well. So and the other part of it, a career, this as well, a career in social media, it's not always difficult. It can just be boring.
So we've just been talking about kind of balancing the professional work with being a content creator for YouTube. Have you ever felt like you're just getting burnt out? You're burning the candle at both ends. I'm sure you have, but I'm sure most of us have as freelance musicians. But have there been many moments where with social media you've thought, you know what, I just need to take a break from it, or do you find it kind of, I don't know, relaxing? I don't know.
No, absolutely, I have. So I started Team Recorder in 2015, and then I did a weekly video for 5 years. So that was, and these YouTube videos, so like a 15-minute tutorial. And I was in a rhythm, and that was great. But at a certain point, I really burnt out. And this was also during the pandemic. So, I mean, I was lucky in that sense that my work online could continue, because everything else we were doing stopped, obviously. All performing stopped, teaching stopped. So there was a lot of pressure to really make it into a business, and at a certain point I did really burn out. So I took I took 3 months off YouTube, which for social media is a long time. And since then I publish videos when they're ready. So let's say I've gone from 50 videos a year to 30 videos a year, which is a slower pace. And then I noticed that, the statistics on my channel grow at a slower rate, but I've made my peace with that. So now I feel like I've got a good balance between YouTube and my offline work, because for me the priority and the focus is being a musician, is performing, teaching, writing music books. So that is what I always want to keep doing in the forefront around social media.
It's so hard to keep that consistency, especially when you're seeing other accounts doing it, some of which are probably especially with podcasts as well, are being sponsored and, you know, paid properly and all that kind of stuff. And obviously YouTube actually does pay a little bit of money. So, you know, it's enough to kind of keep that as a little bit of a financial incentive, but also that creativity as well. It is a little bit hard to keep going week on week. So I'm extremely impressed you managed to do 5 years weekly videos, especially with the amount of editing. A lot of people don't realize the amount of editing that has to happen for anything, like whether it's, even if it's a 1 minute clip for TikTok or Instagram, it can be that takes half a day just to do like a 1 minute clip. So to do YouTube videos like you've done is absolutely, it's an incredible feat, really.
Oh, thank you. I mean, there's so much work. It's like a concert. There's so much work that happens behind the scenes that you don't see, that takes a huge amount of time, even just setting up the equipment or scripting a video. If I'm doing that, it takes a lot of time. And as long as it's inspiring, I love doing it. And I still make videos because I love making them. But now, as soon as I start to feel a bit like, oh, it's too much, or feeling like I'm burning the candle at both ends, then I will close the laptop and give myself a bit of a break.
Give yourself the boundaries. Have you found that your content creation has either inspired or influenced your performing style at all? Either in terms of nervousness or in terms of how you present on stage? I don't know.
So practically, I'm very practiced at talking on stage. I'm just catching myself saying, I was about to say, I don't say anymore, but I just did. Chatting on stage and introducing the instruments and incorporating that as a part of my performance really works. At the moment, I've got a concert program called Conversation Concert, where I bring as many recorders as possible. I chat with the audience. It's got a very YouTubey feel. I make it interactive, that the audience can choose which instruments they want to hear per piece. So I don't always know what I'm going to play. And they vote on things. Do you want to hear it on the descant or do you want to hear it on the bass? And
nice. I love that.
Really makes it's really fun. And it makes it really personal and really approachable. And I've often found that I'll finish the concert and then I'll stay on stage for another hour just with the audience chatting to them.
Oh, wow.
So that's really nice. I find that I can create a connection with the audience kind of in the same way I can create a connection with my viewers, who I feel like I get to know through the comment section, for example.
It's quite a transition of just being in front of a screen or a camera, and then all of a sudden, when you're kind of transposing that into a live context, I guess you're using the same skills, but you've on a much more heightened level. But I love that concert, the concert idea that you just told me. I feel like it's just breaking down boundaries and just getting people engaged, as you are doing on YouTube. And some of my most favorite classical concerts that I've been to have been ones where either the soloists or the conductor or someone has talked directly to the audience to explain what they're doing, maybe talk about the program, why they chose certain pieces, listening out for certain things, talking about different instruments. So all of that is so important to get more people in to classical music and different types of music.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice. I performed this concert in the Netherlands this week. And because the audience were choosing the instruments, after each piece I would hold it up and go like, ta-da, that was this one. And then a gentleman came up afterwards and he said, I've never seen a musician thank their instrument on stage. I was like, oh yeah, that was what I was doing.
Yeah.
That would be funny if we saw a pianist go, ta-da, at the end. But it felt very natural to play and then go,
well, you've got a whole family of instruments with you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I wanted to give the instrument its due as well as, me doing this.
Do you know how many you have? How many recorders or variants of recorder that you have?
I think like professional ones, maybe like 30.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of plastic teaching ones, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the recorder collection video is a very, very requested one.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I don't want to do that for like insurance purposes.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also very careful about, where we live. Just those kind of, existing as a human on the internet these days.
So and out of those approximately 30, are they all different types of recorder?
Yeah. So in the recorder world, you have the sizes. So from small to big. And then we have different pitches, tuning. So 440, low 415, high 466, other ones in the middle. We have different keys, like recorders in B flat, G, D, whatever. And then different models from medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, classical, modern, electronic. So the amount of recorders you need is N+1. There's always another one on the shopping list.
There's one recorder that I've seen in, for some reason at the moment on social media, a lot of like memes made out of memes coming from like medieval manuscripts are coming out, and there's a lot of videos of like the devil playing a recorder that's got the two kind of prongs that are coming out of it, like a double
I have
recorder.
One of those.
You
Let me
one?
grab it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. So if you are listening to this via Spotify or whatever, you won't be able to see it. But if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you can see, here we go, big reveal, the medieval recorder, double recorder. Is that the official name for it, a double recorder?
It is a double recorder, yeah. And this is a medieval double recorder. Let's see.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's probably the first that a lot of people have ever heard a medieval double recorder being played. That's incredible.
And I want to emphasize at this point, I'm still learning it because it has a full chromatic range of an octave and a fifth with one hand. So the fingerings used are completely different to a regular recorder. So I'm still getting to grips with it.
Do you have a video about this on your channel?
Yes.
Okay,
the medieval double recorder.
If you want to find out more about this instrument, then head over to Team Recorder YouTube channel. We need to actually sadly wrap up very shortly, but I've absolutely loved chatting and hearing all about your story and everything to do with the recorder. I do have just a couple more quick questions. You have released a couple of books as well.
Yes.
How did that come about? Were you approached?
Yeah, so Shot Publishers got in contact with me few years ago and just asked if I'd be up for collaborating. So of course I said absolutely, and I have one here too. The result is my favourite melodies, bit out of focus. So this is a concert-ready compendium of beautiful music, and the audience is really my YouTube audience. So kind of good intermediate to good amateurs who want some fantastic music to play. We've just released the second book. There's going to be this is kind of hot news, but there's going to be a new series starting next year called the Signature Series, where I do themed books of 3 pieces each, roughly. So that's going to be more regular releases, but you can kind of get into my series, if that makes sense. And any moment now, I'm not quite sure when it's going to happen, but I've actually written a beginner's recorder method with the American publisher Hal Leonard.
Wow.
Yeah, because they didn't have a recorder method yet. So we've been working on it for a couple of years now. And it's going to come with something like 60 videos. Because that's the thing with learning from a book. A lot of my viewers are teaching themselves. To have that video material as well, so you can hear it, you can see it, I can demonstrate things. So that is all done. It should just be coming out soon.
So exciting. And I feel like who better to be the person behind all these new recorded books than you, especially with the videos side of things, because people may have watched your videos. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have actually picked up the recorder after watching your videos or finding you on YouTube. Or come along to one of your concerts and thought, I'm so inspired by the way you described it,
it's true. I definitely at recorder events, festivals and stuff, I meet people who have picked up the recorder or have come back to the recorder through my videos, and I will say that specifically is the reason why I'm always inspired to continue. Because that is so special.
I'm sure a lot of people have recorders somewhere in their house. Maybe they might be a bit dusty, so you can dust it off, give it a clean, give it a go, and then when you're ready, you can move on to the next recorder. That might not be plastic, it might be wooden, who knows.
Exactly.
And you can start leveling up, and there might be some excellent music books made by Hal Leonard that could be coming out soon.
Yes.
So excited. Well, thank you so much for your time. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
So
Online,
my website, yeah, not my house address. My website is sarahjeffery.com. Jeffrey is just an awkward spelling, Jeffery, so we might have to write that in the show notes somewhere. Or my YouTube channel is Team Recorder. I'm on social media as Team Recorder as well, Team_Recorder. So with those, you can find a lot about what I'm doing in those places. I'll
put links to all the channels in on the Spotify and on the YouTube and stuff.
Awesome.
But there we go. Thank you so much for coming into this digital assembly hall on the Notes from School podcast. I found it so interesting and inspiring. Who knows? I might pick up the recorder. I probably should, to be honest, with all these shows I'm doing. Yes, I should probably do a recorder solo at some point.
Absolutely.
I promise I won't set up a rival recorder YouTube channel. But anyway,
I wouldn't mind. The more the merrier. The more the merrier.
Amazing. I'll pre-order the books to get myself ready. Thank you so much for your time, and
thank you so much.
Thanks for listening, and hopefully see you again for another episode of Notes from School.
Yeah, thanks for having me.